There we have it. Alright, so the first of the 3 blinds we're installing is in here. I'm going to start off with the smallest one. So this one here is a 60cm by 210cm drop. And it's to go into this little ensuite sort of toilet area here. So on this really long window, it goes to the exterior. So it's going to be going in there. All I've done so far is pulled it out of the packaging. And I've just laid it out here. I did a very quick test fit in the window and it does fit, so we can go ahead. Got all of the hardware and bracketry in this little box. And all it requires to install is a 2mm drill bit. It's a really small drill bit. The drill to drill those pilot holes with that 2mm drill bit, and then something to actually drive these timber screws in with. So I'm just going to use my impact driver here, but I also have my little electric screwdriver in case the impacts are a bit too powerful or whatnot, but I think we'll be okay with this one. And then a tape measure down here as well, so that I can make sure that I have equal distances, etc. Alrighty, I'll set you up in a little tripod so we can see how I go about installing it in here. I'll just mention, installing it as a recess mount, where it goes inside of the actual window frame, rather than a front face where it goes on the front of the window frame.
The first step is to mark the position of the mounting holes on the top of the window frame and pre-drill these with a 2mm drill bit. The extension attachment I have on my impact driver is a bit too thick to actually fit through the access holes in the bracket there, so meaning I could only insert the screws about 80% of the way, and had to use a screwdriver to finish screwing them in until flush, as seen here. Once the top of the bracket's mounted flush against the top of the window frame, it's time to mount the sides of the bracket against the side of the window frame. You'll notice I pre-drilled all 4 holes here on the side, but only inserted 2 screws. The reasoning is because this is only a small blind being installed. I felt 2 screws on the top, 2 screws on the side was ample support for each bracket. 8 screws in total is more than enough to support this, the weight of this sized blind. With one bracket installed, all we need to do now is repeat on the other side. Final steps to finish it off by placing the top pelmet that covers the top rail. I make this look extremely difficult here as I wanted to test fit the blind first to make sure that it fits. But it would have been much easier to install the pelmet when it was still on the ground and install it all together. Later in the video, I'll show another way of doing this and installing these, as well as removing any additional slats from the bottom of the blind if they're not needed to achieve a much more polished and fitted look of the blind.
There we have it, all in here. So now we can open it and we can decide on whether we want to have it sort of open or close that way or that way. Those cords on that side will raise the whole blind up so we can get into the window behind it and actually open it or clean it as well. But yeah, it turned out pretty nice. Much better than having a straight window to the outside there on the toilet. It does come with little sort of brackets to put on the bottom as well. If you wanted to use them, they get screwed down in the bottom there. This little pin here then goes into the side of the base there and holds it in place. I typically don't install them. I find it sort of the weight of that is heavy enough to actually hold it there. Suppose it would only be if maybe you had something that could be knocking it, or wind or something that could blow it off. I'm going to go without it for now. And the second thing it comes with as well, these little guys here, which can get screwed into the side there so that you can wrap your cords around them. Same on that side there as well. Again, I typically find myself not using those. It's either all the way down or all the way up, because this one here, so you can hold it in certain positions. So I'm gonna go without. Prefer the cleaner look as well of not having any of that hardware on the outside. Yeah, big improvement. Only a relatively cheap blind. I think these blinds here, this one's about $50, rather than the alternative, which is going to be our first option of shutters, like plantation shutters, that can open up and close. But they, would have set us back about $500. So for $50, not too bad.
For this next window, I decided on setting the blind further back into the windowsill so that the pelmet would sit flush with the exterior trim. This wasn't an option with the first blind due to the window operating mechanism. You can see I use a latch from one of the brackets, which just happened to be the same thickness as the pelmet, and I use this to offset the other bracket into the windowsill. Apart from this change, the rest of the install remains the same, with the addition of a center support that you'll see here shortly. This is the center support bracket I was talking about. To install, I'll firstly mark the center between the two brackets, followed by the distance from the back of each of those brackets to the window, and match this for the center support. This allows me to ensure the blind rail is seated securely in the support and is pushed all the way back into those side brackets as well. Once this is positioned, mark the holes with a pencil, pre-drill with the 2mm drill bit and fasten the screws. These little plastic clips are what attaches the pelmet to the top rail. They just snap in like so, but are a bit of a pain to actually slide or remove once they're in. So make sure that you have them positioned where you want them before snapping them in. Now that the blind is secure and the pelmet is installed, it's time to remove the excess slats from the bottom of the blind. You can see just how many extras that we have in this blind, as it was made for a 210 centimetre drop and our window here is only 150 centimetres. Luckily it's easy enough, but it does require a few steps. Step 1 is to remove the plastic plugs under the bottom rail and drop the blind all the way down. This will allow access to the cords, which need to be untied and fed back through the holes up until your desired height of the last slat. Remembering to factor in that the bottom rail will need to be reinstalled, so go one slat higher than where you will want it to fall to account for this. Then it's as easy as feeding the unwanted slats out until you reach your desired height. I'm cutting off the excess slat holders or cords here, again leaving space for that bottom rail and then feeding the cords through the holes. positioning the blind where I want it to finish, and ensuring all cords are taut before cutting to length. That's very important, otherwise you will have uneven length cords. I also then leave enough overhang to tie a knot with. The plastic caps get threaded through the cords to in the same manner that they were taken off prior to tying the knot. So once this is done, caps get pushed back in, ensuring to capture the support cords in the middle as seen here. Once done, the final step's to melt the cut ends with the cord with the flame so that they don't fray over time. With that done, the ensuite's done. So one more blind to install in the main bathroom, which I'm going to put on time lapse for you so you can see the whole process uninterrupted in a time lapse, so you can see just how easy it actually is once you get the steps all down pat and the process down pat. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps you install your own Venetian blind. And coming up soon, I'm actually installing at the moment a ceiling mounted S-fold blockout and sheer curtains. So if you'd like to see that, please consider subscribing, that way you don't miss out. Thanks again. See you next time on the project build.